Hello everyone, and welcome to Kaleidoscope Channel. On June 30th, 1908, an extraordinarily bright flash tore across the Siberian sky, followed by a deafening explosion that shook the entire Tunguska region. The blast's power was equivalent to 100 Hiroshima atomic bombs. It leveled forests across 830 square miles, flattening 80 million trees in an instant. Yet strangely, no crater was found on the ground, nor any fragments from space. For over a century, scientists have been unable to explain this mysterious event with natural phenomena. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, in a tall tower on Long Island, a white-haired engineer was smiling. His name was Nikola Tesla. That day, he was conducting an experiment called wireless energy resonance. No one knows if he was aware of the explosion in Siberia or if he successfully directed energy across the ocean, but in Tesla's notes, there is a statement: "If I wish, I can send energy from one point to any corner of the earth at will." Tesla was an idealist throughout his life. He envisioned a world where humanity no longer relied on wires or fought over energy resources. By building a few towers, he believed free electricity could be transmitted globally. He called this technology the Global Wireless Energy Transmission System. At the 1893 World's Fair, he demonstrated the principle of wirelessly lighting fluorescent lamps, astonishing the audience. Using the Earth's conductivity and ionospheric reflection, Tesla believed the planet was a natural resonance circuit, and by harnessing electromagnetic resonance, energy control over the entire globe could be achieved. To realize this vision, he built the Wardenclyffe Tower, a 190-foot domed structure standing on the Long Island coast. But his ideals soon met harsh reality. When his financial backer, J.P. Morgan, realized that global wireless free electricity meant losing commercial control over energy, he withdrew his funding. Tesla's plans were shelved, the tower was demolished, and his research faded into obscurity, leaving only unverifiable legends. That is, until the day Tesla died in 1943. On that day, his notes, sketches, and documents were seized by the FBI and classified as national security assets. It is said that these materials were handed over to a professor at MIT for evaluation. His name was John Trump, the uncle of U.S. President Donald Trump. He told officials that the research had no practical value. However, soon after, a series of peculiar research projects began in secret, their core principles rooted in Tesla's supposedly worthless theories. The most notable among them was the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, or HAARP, quietly constructed decades later in a remote part of Alaska. Funded jointly by the U.S. Air Force and DARPA, this program appears on the surface as a mere array of 180 high-powered antennas, neatly arranged. But its capabilities go far beyond simple scientific research. In 1987, physicist Bernard Eastlund filed a patent for this system titled Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region in the Earth's Atmosphere, Ionosphere, and/or Magnetosphere. The patent explicitly states that by transmitting high-powered radio frequencies to a specific region of the ionosphere, charged particles can be heated, altering their physical state. This operation not only generates reflected signals thousands of miles away, but can also act like a radio-optical lens, modifying the structure of the atmosphere to affect communications, missile trajectories, and even the weather system itself. In declassified military documents, Eastlund's own words are even more startling. This technology can be used to destroy missiles, disrupt communications, and even manipulate the climate. These descriptions sound like science fiction, but they are documented in patents and received funding. So, what exactly does the military intend to do with it? The answer is unsettling. In 1996, the U.S. Air Force released a report titled Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025, stating that weather control is no longer a fantasy, but will become a strategically significant military capability. The report explicitly notes that climate intervention could serve offensive, defensive, and deterrent purposes. Their visions include creating storms to paralyze enemy air bases, inducing droughts to disrupt agricultural supplies, and triggering thunderstorms over battle zones to interfere with communication systems. The report also cites historical precedents. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. secretly executed Operation Popeye, using cloud seeding to extend the rainy season, making the Ho Chi Minh Trail muddy and impassable. They called it making mud, not war. But these are just the tip of the iceberg. What's truly concerning is that HAARP is not merely a tool for controlling weather. It is likely a strategic energy weapon platform developed from Tesla's legacy. The logic behind it stems from chaos theory. The climate system is a highly sensitive chaotic system where small disturbances can trigger massive changes. Just as a butterfly flapping its wings can cause a storm far away, HAARP doesn't need to release energy equivalent to a hurricane. By precisely projecting energy to key nodes, it could set off catastrophic chain reactions. This approach makes HAARP, despite its low power, the most dangerous butterfly in history. Meanwhile, other nations have not stood idly by. Russia and China have built their own ionospheric heaters. A silent high-altitude arms race is underway, not on land, sea, or in space, but in the invisible realm of electromagnetic waves, in the intangible ionosphere above the globe. If manipulating weather is a war on the Earth's surface, then manipulating earthquakes is an invasion of the Earth itself. At the end of the 20th century, a strange pattern began to emerge frequently in natural disasters. In Indonesia, Iran, Japan, Turkey, and Haiti, before major earthquakes struck, an unusual phenomenon was often observed: dramatic changes in electron density in the ionosphere. These disturbances sometimes appeared hours before the quake, sometimes earlier, like a signal activated in advance. Initially, scientists thought these might be natural feedback effects caused by gases or weak electromagnetic fields released from the Earth's crust rising to the ionosphere. However, some researchers proposed a more startling hypothesis. These disturbances didn't originate from the ground, but were projected from the sky. In other words, they weren't precursors, but a prelude. In 2021, a paper published in Nature Communications noted that before certain earthquakes, plasma disturbances in the ionosphere showed a high degree of correlation with the epicenter regions and exhibited frequency characteristics indicative of artificial modulation. This phenomenon was inconsistent with the natural propagation patterns of seismic waves, resembling instead a triggered resonance. This raised an extremely sensitive question. Has humanity already mastered the ability to influence crustal stability through electromagnetic waves? More directly, can HAARP induce earthquakes? Although the U.S. military has never publicly acknowledged this capability, multiple independent experiments and theoretical studies have revealed HAARP's potential. We must understand that the Earth's crust is not a rigid, stable entity, but a dynamic system full of stress and imbalance. When a fault accumulates enough energy, even a small trigger can cause the entire geological structure to collapse. Like gently poking an overinflated balloon, the whole system can rupture. This is precisely HAARP's potential key role. It doesn't create the energy but provides that precise, fatal poke. By transmitting high-powered radio frequencies to the ionosphere, HAARP can generate low-frequency oscillations that propagate through the Earth's electromagnetic circuits and potentially act on the deep crust, inducing the release of tectonic stress. Some scholars refer to these frequencies as earthquake resonance frequencies, ranging from 0.1 to 10 Hz, which closely overlap with the dominant frequencies of natural seismic waves. This concept had early roots during the Cold War. The Soviet Union's woodpecker signal was suspected of using similar principles for geomagnetic disturbance experiments. Meanwhile, the U.S. Extremely Low Frequency (ELF) program attempted to use electromagnetic waves for deep ocean communication and inadvertently discovered the crust's sensitivity to ELF signals. In 2020, a Chinese earthquake research center detected an anomalous signal. 48 hours before a moderate earthquake, the electron density in the local ionosphere surged dramatically, inconsistent with space weather at the time. On another front, Russian researchers analyzing global ionospheric changes before and after the 2008 Sichuan earthquake found electromagnetic disturbances over the epicenter resembling HAARP's radio frequencies. These clues are scattered like fog across scientific reports and seismic monitoring data. No one can provide definitive evidence, But the growing number of coincidences has led to suspicions. Has HARP, or similar systems, evolved into a kind of crustal weapon? In fact, beyond triggering earthquakes, HARP's ability to probe underground structures is even more astonishing. Traditional ground-penetrating radar is limited by wavelength and penetration depth, struggling to reach beyond a few hundred meters. However, HARP can emit ultra-low-frequency rays, electromagnetic waves with extremely long wavelengths capable of penetrating the shallow crust and reflecting structural features of underground oil and gas reserves, mineral veins, cavities, and even military installations. In other words, HARP may be one of the most powerful subsurface detection devices known to humanity, more precise than satellites and more far-reaching than radar. In warfare, this means comprehensive scanning of enemy underground fortifications, even mapping three-dimensional models of deep bunkers. Russian military expert Andrei Ivanov once stated in an interview, "It's not just capable of triggering earthquakes, it can destroy underground bases without a single missile." This claim is not baseless. In 2010, a moderate earthquake struck near Bushehr, Iran, where a nuclear facility was located. The region was geologically stable, yet the quake precisely surrounded the known underground reactor. Although Iran publicly denied any military attack, many international analysts suspected the event was not a natural earthquake, but a new form of electromagnetic intervention. Such technologies are part of a non-kinetic strike system. Unlike missiles or bombs, HARP's destruction is smokeless, silent, and sourceless, making accountability nearly impossible to establish. It cannot be tracked by ballistic trajectories or monitored by radar. It hides in the air, leaving only post-quake ruins and unsolved mysteries. This is precisely why some argue it violates international laws on the peaceful use of space. Yet no international treaty has effectively restricted the development of such weapons. Nations maintain a tacit silence while quietly expanding their ionospheric experiments. While attention focuses on AI, quantum computing, and drone warfare, the true frontier of conflict may already be unfolding silently between the atmosphere and the Earth's crust. Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Perhaps he never foresaw that the resonant frequencies he intended to illuminate the world would ultimately become amplitudes capable of tearing continents apart and awakening the fires of hell. In humanity's traditional understanding of war, victory often hinges on physical confrontations, guns, tanks, missiles, and armies. However, the boundaries of modern warfare have long since blurred. Increasingly, the true outcome of conflicts is not decided on battlefields, but subtly shifts within the human mind. This is one of HARP's most alarming potentials. It can not only manipulate weather and earthquakes, but may also interfere with humanity's deepest perceptual system, the brain. Have you ever experienced inexplicable anxiety, sudden sadness, or unprovoked panic? Most people attribute these to emotional fluctuations, hormonal imbalances, or even weather changes. Few realize that the essence of human emotions is a set of electrical signals that can be modulated. The human brain operates through electrochemical processes. Brainwaves, the frequency fluctuations produced by neuronal activity, can be broadly categorized into several bands. 1. Alpha waves, 8 to 13 Hz, relaxed state. 2. Beta waves, 14 to 30 Hz, focused or tense state. 3. Theta waves, 4 to 7 Hz, dreamlike or hypnotic state. 4. Delta waves, 0.5 to 3 Hz, deep sleep. These fluctuations underpin complex states like emotions, attention, fear, anxiety, and joy. If an external method could modulate these wavebands into a target brain, could human emotions be tuned, like a radio signal? This is not a fantasy. As early as the 1960s, the CIA launched a secretive program called MKUltra, aimed at exploring how drugs, electromagnetic waves, and psychological suggestion could control human consciousness. Though the program was eventually exposed and terminated, related research did not entirely cease. It shifted into more covert military and technological experiments. Among these, electromagnetic frequencies became a key focus. In 1974, the U.S. Patent Office approved a patent titled Method for Altering Brain States Through Amplitude-Modulated Electromagnetic Fields, invented by Dr. Neville G. Lopez. He proposed that radio frequency waves with specific amplitude modulation could induce alpha or theta states in the brain, guiding it into a highly malleable psychological state akin to hypnosis or heightened suggestibility. The frequency bands HAARP can precisely cover these brainwave ranges. In 2006, the European Parliament questioned the U.S. government about HAARP's true purpose, citing a report during an open meeting that stated the system was capable of affecting the human central nervous system. Although the U.S. consistently denied these claims, it provided no detailed rebuttals or technical counter-evidence. The meeting ended inconclusively, but it left a lingering question. If a radio frequency system can disrupt the ionosphere thousands of miles away, could it also interfere with the human brain without physical contact? Some evidence began to surface. In the 1990s, Russian scientist Igor Smirnov noted at a military forum that experiments simulating HAARP's effects on soldiers' psychological states revealed that exposure to certain radio frequency interference caused temporary disorientation, attention deficits, and panic responses. These effects resembled mild mental disruption. In 2008, an unverified but widely circulated NATO internal exercise report claimed that during a multinational joint exercise, an elite unit suddenly experienced collective anxiety, auditory hallucinations, and disorganized behavior without any tangible attack, forcing the exercise to be halted. Weather conditions and communication interference were ruled out, with the only anomaly being high-frequency fluctuations in the airspace above the area lasting several hours. Even without being a mental weapon, HAARP's potential for psychological warfare is undeniable. Imagine subtly applying low-level alpha or theta wave modulation over a hostile nation's major city. The public, unaware, might fall into fatigue, anxiety, irritability, or distraction. Social order could gradually destabilize, violent incidents could rise, and government response efficiency could decline. Without firing a shot, internal unrest or economic collapse could be triggered. This strategy, termed emotional environment shaping, has been proposed in some asymmetric warfare theories. Its ultimate goal is not destruction but the disruption of human cognitive ecosystems. A more extreme possibility involves fine-tuning collective brainwaves in a specific region to achieve widespread psychological suggestion effects. A social group might unknowingly adopt an emotional consensus, fear, hatred, sadness, or even a strong sense of allegiance to a particular ideology. Interestingly, Tesla himself wrote in his 1905 notes, "Everything in the universe can be tuned. Even humanity itself is merely a resonance point in some higher frequency." If his theories have been inherited, then HAARP or similar systems might not only interfere with Earth systems, but also with the human collective consciousness system. Could this mean that human free will might become a target for frequency tuning? Are we already living in a society shaped by frequencies without realizing it? We don't know for certain. But what is clear is that beneath HAARP's dense array of antennas, science and warfare, consciousness and matter are intertwining in unprecedented ways. And every one of our brains may already be caught in the midst of it. In the past, human wars were fought on land. Later, they spread to the seas and skies. And now, they are unfolding silently through invisible spaces, the atmosphere, the ionosphere, and the depths of the human mind. HAARP, a project woven from antennas, frequencies, and radio waves, is no longer just a high-altitude research station. It is a threshold to the wars of the future. And the United States is not the only one stepping through this doorway. Nations worldwide have quietly joined this frequency race. During the Cold War, Russia developed a similar system called SURA, with theoretical foundations akin to HAARP, aiming to influence the ionosphere and Earth's crust through high-frequency modulation. Today, Russia is said to have established a new generation of polar ionospheric excitation devices in the Arctic Circle, with radio frequency coverage reportedly surpassing HAARP's. China has publicly announced the construction of high-powered ionospheric heating facilities in Hainan, Wuhan, and the Tibetan Plateau, forming a triangular network aimed at space physics research and polar communications. Official statements remain restrained, but terms like artificial disturbance and extremely low-frequency induction frequently appear in related papers, sparking intrigue. Europe, Japan, India, though their technological capabilities may lag behind, they too are diving into this field. UNESCO's Space Weather Monitoring Program has privately expressed concerns that the proliferation of frequency-based weapons could lead to another nuclear arms balance. Human civilization is shifting from hard kills to soft interventions. This is not merely an evolution of military technology, but a fundamental redefinition of control. In the past, control meant conquering a city. Now, it means interfering with a group's decision-making systems, manipulating their emotions, sleep, beliefs, and memories, all potentially achieved through an invisible beam of electromagnetic waves. This raises an increasingly critical question. Do we still possess free will? This is not just a philosophical question, but a matter of survival. If external frequencies can interfere with the brain's internal mechanisms, then freedom of consciousness will become the next territory to defend. For this reason, in early 2024, the United Nations issued a report titled Draft Ethical Framework for Non-Kinetic Weapons, proposing for the first time that emotional manipulation frequencies be included in restrictions on new forms of warfare. Though not yet legally binding, it signals global awareness. Frequencies are weapons too. However, the truest fear surrounding HAARP may not stem from its current capabilities, but from the direction it reveals. It represents a potential future, when science can precisely manipulate weather, earthquakes, human emotions, and consciousness. Who will wield that control? A democratic oversight committee? The military? Multinational tech giants? Or an unregulated shadow organization? We cannot answer. But history tells us that every powerful technology is first used as a weapon before it may serve peace. The atomic bomb preceded nuclear power. The internet preceded digital privacy. And now, HAARP may precede a global consciousness protocol. More crucially, humanity is not a bystander in this frequency revolution. Every smartphone, Wi-Fi router, sound wave, and short video is part of the frequency ecosystem. We ourselves are becoming tunable units in the frequency war. Have you ever wondered why certain music makes you cry? Why some videos keep you scrolling uncontrollably? Why, when a wave of fear sweeps through, an entire city seems to resonate with it? Frequencies don't just come from antenna towers. They emanate from our language, culture, and perception. If HAARP is a frequency weapon, then the entire internet might be a massive resonance engineering project. From this perspective, the frequency war has already begun, not with lightning, gunfire, or explosions, but with traffic, algorithms, brainwaves, and silence. Its victor will not be the nation controlling the most land, but the system commanding the most attention. This is why, post-2025, global frequency research is increasingly focusing on the brain and consciousness. In an era where attention is the resource, the ultimate battlefield lies not above the clouds, but within your mind. As Tesla once said, in the future, wars will not be decided by weapons, but by who can control the frequencies of humanity. This is Kaleidoscope. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you, and see you next time.